So last summer, 2013, I was in Nashville for the Immerse conference in the middle of a busy summer of camps. And while I was there, ran into Kyle Lee. And he and I and Jenny Riddle, Kyle was the producer on the Story I Tell record, and Jenny was the executive producer for the record. And the three of us started just kind of having a conversation. And I told them that I loved every single song on the Story I Tell record. Like, individually had a reason for loving every single one of them, but for some reason, my ear was always drawn to the Story I Tell and Headed for the Mountain. They just, the vibe of those songs, they felt most like me, like who I felt like I was as an artist, who I was as a singer, who I was as a writer. And so I was just so drawn to those songs. I just kind of told them that I've kind of been thinking about writing songs in that vein and just kind of hanging out there. And both of them agreed that they felt like that was just such a great niche for me. And after we released the Story I Tell record, a lot of people just kept coming back to me and saying, oh man, number 5 and number 6, what they called it, the Story I Tell, and Headed for the Mountain. Man, those are the songs. I just love those songs. And again, we had some great responses and some great stories come out of the other songs, but for some reason, those two were the ones that just kind of hung in there. So just before I left town to come back home, I actually had a meeting with a publisher from a major label over in Nashville, and as we're sitting there talking and listening to the songs, he's talking about how much he loves the record and how much he loves the different songs on there, but for some reason he felt like his ear was drawn to number 5 and 6. He said, Micah, I feel like if you made an album out of these 2 songs right here, that you would have your own thing. It has this real Southern thing, but this real soulful thing. And immediately my ear perked up and I thought, Southern soul. That's the kind of vibe that I'm going for. That's the style that I feel like I can offer, that maybe something a little bit different than what other people are doing. And so I called Kyle and I told him about it, and he said, oh my gosh, can you get back here this summer? I've got an open week at the end of the summer. I looked at my calendar. It was the only open week that I had. I said, man, we're going to make this happen. Someone gave a generous donation to my ministry. And I just decided that we were just going to just see what we could do in a week. So I showed up on a Monday, stayed at Kyle's house for the whole week, and we spent the next 6 days writing, producing, working through, walking through, creating, and building these songs. It honestly just kind of turned into one of the funnest things that I think I've ever been a part of. We decided to, it kind of turned into this kid in a candy store kind of deal where I would listen to it and I'd say, you know, I really wish we could put horns on this. And he goes, let's put horns on this. I said, well, I would really love it if we could bring the choir back in for this. And he goes, okay, I'll call the girls. And we just kind of made this little wish list. And the Lord opportuned us to be able to bring in guitar players and horn players and choirs and just all these different kind of things. That's actually where the kitchen sink idea actually came from, because we threw everything into this record. If you look at the cover of the CD, you even get the kitchen sink. I really think that people are going to dig this music, and there may be some people who listen to it, and it's the Story I Tell record had so much kind of variety on there, and this is a little more honed in. And so it may not be everybody's favorite songs, but I think that there's still something for everybody on the record. And I think we're just going to have to wait and see what people think after they get it. I mean, it's kind of this melting of a lot of the influences I had growing up. I used to listen to a lot of Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder and Sam Cooke and Otis Redding, but I also listened to a lot of Garth Brooks and just, you know, country music. And it kind of has this weird thing. I can't really mask the way that I talk and the way that I sing, hiding any kind of southernness in my voice. But I like to think that I try to honor those soul influences too. And so it's just kind of this cool little melting pot that I feel like when it's all mixed together, thrown into these things, man, I think it turned out really, really cool. And I think it's going to be one of those sounds that I feel like I'm going to continue to be working on and carving out in the albums and the music to come.
That waits for me.